Hello friends, I welcome you to another session of Smart Coach videos, and today we will be talking about the doctrine of lapse. Doctrine of lapse, as we understand, was introduced by Lord Dalhousie, who was at that point of time the Governor General, Governor General of India. And the story behind doctrine of lapse starts with the kingdom of Satara. Alright, it was with this kingdom of Satara and the political position that the kingdom of Satara found itself that the doctrine of lapse first got enunciated in India. Alright, and it was the political turmoil in the kingdom of Satara which resulted in the formulation of this doctrine by Lord Dalhousie, and then it became part of the imperial agenda of the British in India. Alright, so let us look at the development, how it came to be and what it actually signifies. Alright, so as far as the doctrine of lapse is concerned, as I already mentioned, it's tied with the kingdom of Satara, and let us look what happened in Satara. Well, the British had installed at Satara Pratap Singh, all right, whose of course his provenance is debatable or doubtful. Provenance meaning his relationship with Shivaji Maharaj or Shivaji the Great is debatable. However, he was installed, Pratap Singh was installed as one of the legitimate heirs of the descendants of Shivaji in the kingdom of Satara. As we know, kingdom of Satara had been carved out from the Maratha kingdom, alright, as the seat of the descendants of Shivaji, and it was in this kingdom of Satara an obscure ruler by the name of Pratap Singh was installed by the British to rule over the kingdom of Satara. Alright, and after the death of Pratap Singh, Shahaji Raja was put in or installed as the successive ruler. But however, Shahaji, he had died without without a male heir, and this provided a situation of political turmoil in the kingdom of Satara as to who will succeed Shahaji, and this became debatable, and this debate was carried forward to the Viceroy, the Governor General, that is Lord Dalhousie, and Dalhousie at that point of time enunciated the doctrine of lapse, according to which if a native ruler passes away without a legitimate heir to the throne, alright, then the duties of governing his territories will lapse to that of the British authorities. The British authorities will take up the task of governing that particular territory. In fact, it will be annexed into the British Empire of India. So this is the doctrine of lapse as it got enunciated. Now, as far as the doctrine of lapse is concerned, one very important aspect of the doctrine of lapse is that adoption will not be considered legitimate. Adoption will not be considered legitimate. So an adopted heir cannot become the ruler, and therefore adopted heirs will not be able to claim the title of Rajas, and adopted heirs will not be allowed to rule over the territories of the deceased king, and the territory will revert back to the British. Alright, so these are the salient aspect as the doctrine of lapse was formulated by Lord Dalhousie, and it came about in the kingdom of Satara, concerning the kingdom of Satara and the and the resolution of the political problem that came about with the death of Shahaji Raja. Alright, so some of the territories that were annexed through the doctrine of lapse are, now the very first was Satara, of course, then we have Jaipur, alright, we have Sambhalpur, we have Udaipur, we have Jhansi, and so all of these kingdoms were annexed through the doctrine of lapse. Alright, now the three modalities through which the British came into possession of Indian territories are, number one, the first modality was of course granting of land. Alright, they were granted areas, okay, by the native rulers. They were granted areas in which they could establish their territories, of course. But when they became a political power, it was through three measures, principal measures, when the whereby the British assumed territory within India, all right. And these were firstly through warfare, of course. Then we have got the subsidiary alliance and the various clauses which are, you see, part of the subsidiary alliance, such as misrule can also be a clause of the, you see, subsidiary alliance, you see, annexation through subsidiary alliance. And then of course we have got the doctrine of lapse. These were the ways through which the British you see, acquired their territories in India, and through the doctrine of lapse, these were the territories that were acquired by the British. Now, one very important fact about the doctrine of lapse is that you can see that Jhansi and Kanpur were two centers of the rebellion of 1857. If you remember your 1857 properly, you will see that Jhansi and Kanpur were two very important centers of 1857 rebellion, okay. And actually the doctrine of lapse played a very important role in the outbreak of the rebellion of 1857. It is connected to the rebellion of 1857 because the native rulers were not happy when their territories were taken away, and when their adopted sons or adopted, you see, progeny were not able to rule over the territories, and this became an important bone of contention for the outbreak of the revolt of 1857. And we see leaders from Jhansi, Rani Lakshmibai, all right. And from Kanpur, we see Nana Sahib, who led the rebellion of 1857, and they were both victims of the doctrine of lapse. So, the doctrine of lapse is actually fairly simple. These are the only things that you have to know about the doctrine of lapse. Of course, you can go into depth, but these were the areas from where questions you see mostly occur, and therefore, I believe that you are you see by now quite well versed in the doctrine of lapse. I hope you will be studying hard. Thank you.